Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of Council, Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, in the Council chambers. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inkatma and the Silk people. Late items. Just wanted to say thank you to Councillor Egan for bringing us in the fantastic council supper. So thank you very much. It was much appreciated and a great, big, huge old surprise. So thank you very much. Councillor Ogan is joining us on Zoom tonight. There he is. How's it going? Yeah, we're all good to go. We have a couple late items. 2.1, enforcement of good neighbor bylaw in the flood and inundation zone. Now these have to be unanimously accepted by council or we don't move forward on them. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I'm not going to vote in favor of this one tonight. I'd like to push it to the next meeting, and the only reason is because it was a late item and it wasn't up on the board long enough for the public to actually view it and put their 2 cents in. So I won't be supporting it as it is right now. I'd like to move it to the next one if that's okay with everyone. So, okay, thank you. So, is that good enough, Mr. Lawless, or do we have to? Okay, thank you very much. Yep, we can undo that one right now. 2.2, extraordinary grant and aid, Merritt and District Chamber of Commerce. Anyone opposed to bringing this one forward? I don't see any opposition, so we will move on to this one. So the recommendation is the attached item, extraordinary request for grant and aid, Merritt and District Chamber of Commerce, be added to the agenda as a new business and taken as item 9.4. Recommendation. The council approves the extraordinary.
Just the first recommendation.
Okay, let's go with the first recommendation. I need a mover on that.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Petrozzi, any other questions on moving that to the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? And we'll move it on to as 9.4. Okay. Next recommendation is that council approves the extraordinary
That's when we actually get to discussing it in item 9.4. So
yep.
Maybe and then couple of hours. So
yep.
Maybe less depending on what you take.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's a couple. You're optimistic here.
I'm just going to shut up.
So do you want me to read the next part?
No, at this point you watch it now.
Okay. Okay. When we get to 9.4.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Buckle in. Any public input? Thank you very much. Adoption of minutes. Regular council meeting minutes, May 9th, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting be held on May 9th, 2023, be adopted. Councillor Newman, Councillor Egan. Any errors, omissions? The incorrect spelling of Councillor Petrozzi's name? No?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I just want to mention that on the website it says March instead of May.
It is May, your worship. That was a typographical error.
I see we have May here, so thank you for that, Councillor Ogan. The voice from within. All those in favor? Opposed? 4.2, special council meeting minutes, May 10th, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting held on May 10th, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Egan? Councillor Charney? Any errors or omissions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? No public hearing. General matters, delegations and recognitions, 6.1, Nicola Valley Arts Council. If we could get you to Nicola Valley, Michelle, I'll get you to push that little button in front of you and I'll make you live.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You're up.
Good evening, your worship and councillors. I'm just city staff, I guess, and guests. And just before I start, I haven't had a chance to speak at a council meeting yet this year with the new council. I just want to thank everybody again for your service to the city and putting in the time. It's really appreciated by everybody. And I just know that you don't always hear that, so I want to make sure that you know that.
Thank you.
So we've got a city arts presentation that you have got in your package, and sorry got large. Yano, our art gallery curator, got a little bit carried away with it because it's so exciting. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on how this came about. So I think it was about 4 years ago in 2019 or maybe 2020, Don MacArthur put a call out. He wanted to do some city beautification, some downtown beautification. And he put a call out to see if some people would get on a committee, and as happens, I got roped into going onto the committee. It was a great idea. I thought it was a good idea. And before I knew it, the Arts Council seemed to be taking over this project. And we were happy to do so. Council was great enough to give us some money at that time to put towards the project. And then, as you know, all the things that happened in Merritt, things got delayed, and we didn't get going as quickly as we would like to have. The idea then, and I want to make sure that we realize that it wasn't ever to do murals. Murals sometimes give people a wrong connotation, and people get excited about the fact that we don't need any more murals in Merritt. So it wasn't about murals, it was about downtown beautification. It was about Dawn and Will at that time were going around looking at park benches and fire hydrants and fun things that we could paint. It was more to add some interest to the community, add some color to the community. So we weren't ever really talking about painting sides of buildings and things like that. We were more talking about adding some fun, adding some creativity to the community. So maybe art on a building, so it might be a piece of art that would be on a building, but not painting a mural. They're just way too difficult, they're way too time consuming, and in Merritt it's either too hot, too cold, too windy, there's a fire, there's smoke, or there's a flood. So we just want to be able to do things that are manageable, that we could do maybe right in the gallery itself, or that we can be able to paint somewhere and take it to that. Or if it was a smaller thing, that we could paint right on it if it's a bench. Anyway, we'll show you a couple of things. I've got Carrie Ann, who is one of our summer students, with me today, and you'll see some of the projects that they've done. So Carrie and Brooklyn will be our students again. So you'll see the project, and I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go by the Lions Park Bridge. Leonard George, who is just an incredible Indigenous artist, did that bridge. It probably took him about 80 hours because he decided to do it with a stencil. So it was kind of fun because he taught Carrie how to, and Brooklyn, how to do some stenciling. It was many, many layers. The next one that you'll see on the first page of that picture is the sunflower on the back credit union building. The sunflower project was, it's a cross-Canada project that actually has happened. There is a sunflower trail, so, and that was kind of sparked with the Ukraine. So the Merritt has gone the map on the sunflower trail with this particular building. So that's been completed now. Carrie Ann has added some new leaves and things to it. The mandala project that you'll see that's next is one that was done with Kathleen Kanosowicz, who is from Spencis Bridge, and we decided to do it. It was to show the spirit of the community, the generosity, the friendship, the coming together that happened during the flooding. So that's ready, and we're hoping that we can find a great spot for it to go up. The other little one there, and we've got it here, is during the summer we have our art trailer out and about at farmers markets, at the downtown street market, Garlic Fest, places like that. We had those little tiles that we would have out for people to paint. So we've actually got enough of them to do close to a 4x8 sheet of plywood. And again, those are the kind of projects we want to do and be able to mount them, you know, that they would be able to go onto a building. So that one's done and ready. The next two are in Rotary, and they were done by Carrie Ann and Brooklyn, and they're in Rotary Park Bandshell, and they're to be for photos, an opportunity for kids. And I've talked to a few people that said, oh man, is that ever fun? Our kids love standing there. We're hoping to do some walkways that are in Rotary with paint and with chalk, so it would be some ideas that would be interactive. So people that are walking through those beautiful new walking trails in Rotary, they might have come across a hopscotch or some other interactive thing that they could play with as they're walking through there. Lions Memorial Park, we've been talking to Sky and about this, and Leonard is willing to do another project, and those are kind of a couple of the ones that we've been looking at. And I really like the one in the middle is the Eagle. So it would be on the highway side as you're driving in on the washrooms at Lions Park is what we're hoping to put something Indigenous there. Sinfully Sugared, the side of the building, this is the north wall, designed by Carrie that we're hoping to do there. Breathe Bikes, they would like to do something at the back of the building, and this is a design that Carrie's come up with to do there. Now the next one is the satellite dishes, and again, it's another kind of project that's happening around British Columbia. So something that would normally be discarded and thrown into the garbage or into the landfill or something. And we put a call out, and we're fortunate enough to receive quite a few of them. So these are a couple that have been painted so far, and we would really like to be able to mount them. We would love to be able to do an art alley in the alley behind Spirit Square. So we've probably got about a dozen satellite dishes painted and ready to go that we would love to be able to work with Sky and the crew at the city to mount back there. The other ideas we had, if that didn't work, was to plant them in some flower boxes on rebar or something like that. So again, just trying to have some fun with things and see if we can add some color. The school district, the high school in particular, has donated to us a whole bunch of wooden chairs, a dozen or so wooden chairs. And this was a chair from a project that we did a couple of years ago. But we thought it could be really fun if we had we're hoping to do an older students, we do Crafty Kids through the summer, a class that runs all summer. We're hoping to do a class with a group of kids like 10 to 14. And we've got some ideas for them that we would like to do some of these sidewalk painting. And we thought if we could do a chair project with them, we'd, again, love to be able to mount these someplace. So we've talked to Sky and Marilyn. Some of the things we talked about was hanging them on the fence in Central Park by Rotary, just somewhere. We think they could also be kind of fun art projects that could be mounted someplace. Next here. And then these are just some ideas that we have in planning stages. So different pieces of art, maybe things that people have done in the art gallery, and we thought, those would be fun to use, again, for city art. You see the daisies there. The middle one in the middle on the left is Wyatt Collins, another local First Nations artist that we thought that would be a fun one to do someplace. The cowboy boot with the I Love Merritt we thought was fun. And then on near the back page is some that are already in our community. And then the very back, the ideas from other sources. When we talk about just having fun with some of it, so you'll see the little fellow with the watering can, watering a plant, the little fox climbing up the pole, the compass, cracks in walls, cracks in sidewalks, where we thought, hey, this would be fun if we could just have some fun with art, just to make it a little bit creative. There you can see the hopscotch one. Those are the kinds of things that we would like to be able to do in Rotary Park. On the very back page, this is what we believe, that art really does change everything, has the opportunity to change everything for sure. Now the bottom one is a design by Joel Reed, who again, a local artist. It's not complete there because he ran out of color, but the background would be yellow. I know this is a little bit like graffiti, but we would love to find a spot for this. Originally, we had hoped to put this on the Empty Keg building facing Murray GM, but Empty Keg's not interested in having it there. They would prefer to do something historical on the side of the building, and unfortunately, that is just not something that we're capable of doing. He wants something true to life, and we don't have those capabilities right now. We'd like to try to find something that might work with him, but at this time, we don't have anybody. And I know if any of you were involved in the arena, try to get a mural painted on the arena, it's challenging. There are just not very many mural artists out there, and painting on the side of a building, scaffolding, all that kind of stuff is not easy. So we hope we can work with Kyle and find something that might work for him. I'm not sure that we'll be able to, but anyway, any questions? So I guess before questions, what we're hoping is that rather than us bring each of these to council each time we want to do something, is that we'll be able to just work with Sky and Marilyn and whoever else the city works to, we've shown you some of our designs that we'll be able to work with them to get some of these accomplished. Any questions?
Any questions from Michelle? Councillor Charney?
I love the idea. I think it's great, and I think it would really brighten up our downtown. I especially love the cow. But I do have a question on ownership. I know there was a question with the ownership on the murals. So will there be and maintenance?
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little more about that?
Sure. We would love to. We did have a lawyer write something up, and as far as we're concerned, we would own them. But the beauty of this, Wendy, I think, is that because most of them would be like, say, a 4x8 sheet of plywood or a 4x4, it's going to be really easy to maintain. And if at any time the building owner doesn't want it, very easy to take down. So it's not like having to redo a whole mural, or if a mural gets vandalized, having to redo that. So I think it's a lot simpler, and the Arts Council will definitely look at maintenance. But I agree, we have got something that started written up by a lawyer, and we would go with that. So the artists themselves would still own the design, so they would be able to, say, if they wanted to do postcards or something like that, they would still be able to do that. But we would look after the maintenance of them.
Yeah, I think if you had things up around downtown, we would draw more people down and they would start looking around for.
That's what we're hoping for, you know, and it, like I say, it might not always be a big piece, something, we're just hoping for little pieces that just might inspire somebody or just give somebody a chuckle, you know, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Councillor, your mic was on. Now it's off.
Wendy asked the question.
Any other questions? Just like, we enjoy the invitations we get to come to the gallery when you have situations, and love bringing my family, and looking forward to all the art. I've been more buried in art since I've sat in this chair than I have before it. So, and I'm enjoying it. It's really enjoyable, and some very creative people in our community. The last one you had with the weaving, never thought weaving would be an art form until you actually watch it and see it. So
it's amazing.
Thank you for enlightening an old dinosaur. So it's, I enjoy it. But thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I just want to do one last thing. We have a gift for Sean. And just again, on behalf of the Arts Council, Sean, we really want to thank you for your time here, for everything you've done for our community, and just a happy little reminder of Merritt.
And that'll be on, photo, we need a photo.
Oh, somebody sent a good picture.
They're demanding.
Yeah. And that'll be on eBay before the night is over. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. I'll get you to push that little button there for me. Thank you very much. No unfinished business, no bylaws, no new business. New business. 9.1, Statement of Financial Information for 2022. Mr. Thompson, you're up.
You have before you the annual requirement for all municipalities to prepare a statement of financial information for public release. And the city's SOFI, as we call it, a statement of financial information for 2022, is attached to this report and must be approved by council, signed, and submitted to the province by June 30th. And SOFI contains information about remuneration and expenses paid to and on behalf of council and staff. Amounts are listed individually for council and any employees that were paid over $75,000 in 2022. And it also includes a listing of all suppliers paid in aggregate total of over $25,000 in 2022. The 2022 SOFI for the City of Merritt must be approved at an open meeting and filed with the province as required by the Financial Information Act. And the recommendation is that council approves the City of Merritt Statement of Financial Information for the year ended December 31st, 2022, as presented, and authorizes the mayor and the director of finance to sign the statement on behalf of this city.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Charney. Any questions for Mr. Thompson? Councillor Charney.
On page 33 of 81, the Nicola Valley Rodeo Association has a grant, I know it's on the page 35 also, has a grant of $36,098.40. So the city is giving them a grant of $36,000?
We have in various stages, yes, last year.
But so then this is in addition to the grant in aid that we gave them in October?
No, that includes the grant in
That
aid.
includes, so this would be, I think we gave them 75? Can't remember. So that would be 36 minus 75. Okay. And the Nicola Valley Shelter and Support Society, can you tell me what that amount is for, the $145,985? Is that to run the Shelter and Support Society?
That was part of the support for the floods.
Okay.
Councillor Newman.
Just first that I just wanted to make a correction that my name has an E on the end so that gets corrected on when it gets approved. Paul's name is right, so that was the other one that I had. And then I do have a question in regards to the councillor remunerations that are listed. Why would everybody not have the same dollar figure?
Yeah, we don't.
It's deductions, is
C.O. Smith.
it? Okay. Thank you.
No, but thanks, Dana, for answering that, so none of us have.
Clearly makes sense.
But getting back to the council remunerations, I'm assuming these are not the current because there's still stuff is missing from here, obviously.
I got it.
So, it's 2020, okay.
It's what was paid in 2022.
Oh, right, my mistake, okay. Thank you.
And
Councillor Charney.
under Director of Human Resources, there was expenses of $9,900.
Mm-hmm.
What would that be for?
That was for courses she's taken.
Okay. And in the, up at the top for councillors, Mike Bangoo's name is not on here. Was he not part of 2022? When did he resign? December 2021? Okay, that answers my question. Okay.
Get you to turn your mic off, Councillor Charney. Councillor Newman.
And just one last question in regards to the remuneration where it states that nothing's listed under 75,000 and it's a bulk number at the bottom. Is that by council policy or community church?
Statement of financial information policy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Richard.
Well, I was kind of wondering where some of the expenses were, and I think throughout the year, seeing this other breakdown with some of the expenses being paid later in the year, last year than this year. Looks like FCM was paid in advance, so it counted on 2022, because I was thinking, oh, they seem a little higher than I expected. But I also thought that some of the LGLA things were maybe included in there from November, but maybe not. Because that was in November. Did we not have anything listed for that, or? Okay.
C.O. Smith.
I just wanted to add one point as well for council. You'll note that there's some stars in there saying provincially funded for fire and flood for certain roles. What is not captured in there is there's a whole bunch of positions that have incremental expenses or incremental increases in what they would have done because of the flood still that are covered. It's just that the whole wage was not covered by the province. And so that is not the extent of everything that was covered by the province through response and recovery costs, but it is, those are the two roles that were fully covered.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
With the amendments?
Oh, do we have amendments? Oh, sorry, yeah. All those in favor with the amendments. Sorry about that. Opposed, none, carried. Right. 9.2, update on TIM HP and request to extend to produce Mr. Sean Strang. There he is. Come to the front.
Sorry, I wasn't following along. I heard flood in the previous conversation. I was like, oh, I'm up. No, okay. I actually am not going to be giving this presentation. I'm going to give credit where credit is due and I have Steve Schell, who is running the housing program and did the presentation last time, and Nick, who's doing all the boots on the ground, logistics, contracts, everything else for the program. So they're going to give you a bit of an overview in terms of the actual resolutions before you. We have two. I'll come up here to do the actual formal paperwork, boring government stuff, but they're going to give a slide presentation and tell you about all the exciting stuff happening in the program. So I will leave it to them.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to give you another update. It's a pleasure being here today. So Nick and I will just give you a bit of an overview. If we can go to the next slide, please. So there's three areas we want to highlight tonight. The first one is in regards to the Transitional Evacuee Manufactured Home Program tenant status. Then we want to talk about the outstanding hydro connections, then touch base on the remaining tasks, and then talk about some of the comments we've received from the tenants in the complex. Second, we'll go through some resolutions. Sean will come back and speak to the one in regards to program term extension, and then the next resolution regarding the buyout agreement. Next slide, please. So as you remember, approximately 130 households were living in temporary shelters last summer, which wasn't really that long ago, with many of those living outside the community. Many of those homes that were lost were mobile homes. So the city of Merritt worked on a plan to transition displaced residents off Red Cross emergency support and enable residents to return to the community. The city was provided with $8.5 million from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs to develop a strategy to provide 70% market rate housing and replace some of the housing stock lost in the flood. A transitional evacuee manufactured home program was then developed, and the city was able to purchase 31 manufactured homes to provide temporary subsidized housing for eligible flood impacted homeowners and renters. The 31 manufactured homes have been installed at the Diamondville Mobile Home Park at 2776 Clapperton Avenue. The Royal LePage property manager has tenancy agreements in place as of today for 24 of the 31 houses. 15 of those are 2-bedroom units, 7 are 3-bedroom, and 2 are 4-bedroom units. There are 7 homes remaining to be rented out, with 6 of those in the process of having BC Hydro connections set up. The other 1 home will be made available after Silver Mountain Contract has completed their work. So we're monitoring what the rate is within the community through the Canadian Red Cross. How many people are still out there receiving some support? So the Canadian Red Cross, as of May 3rd, said that there's 194 households, or 352 people, that are actively getting support through the Red Cross. There are 2 households, or 2 people, in community commercial accommodation, and 29 households, or 57 people, in temporary accommodation. So now I'd just like to pass it over to Nick. Next slide, please, to talk about this. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, Council. So as Steve said, there are currently 6 lots that still have an outstanding issue with BC Hydro. They don't currently meet the building code requirements to be connected to BC Hydro services. BC Hydro is working closely with the park owner to address these 6 and just recently approved the design changes that are required. The park owner is working on the upgrades next week and is anticipating to have them done by the end of next week, at which point he will get a BC Hydro inspector out for final approvals. Once the power service has been provided to the site, Silver Mountain Contracting will be returning to finish connecting and commissioning these 6 homes. Once they've been approved for occupancy, Royal LePage Property Manager will establish the rental agreements with new qualified tenants. Next slide, please. Thank you. On top of the BC Hydro issues, we still have 3 outstanding tasks we're tracking with this project. The first is the addition of exterior water taps to the 31 mobile homes. We recently went out for estimates to a number of contractors and finalized the scope and got approval from the park owner, and we will be awarding that contract this week. The second is the driveway parking pads, which are currently under construction. Those are being funded by the park owner and amortized through rent. They are currently in the process of constructing those and are expected to be completed by June 1st. Finally is the landscaping of the lots. We are anticipating 55,000 square feet of landscaping across all 31 lots, and are currently working with a procurement consultant to draft an RFP for that project. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nick. So one thing we want to share with council is that we received lots of feedback from the tenants in these new homes. And it seems to be hitting the mark. The work that everyone has done, and there are many, and the leadership from City Council and Mayor has been outstanding, that this program, in my opinion, our opinion, has been very successful. And just to prove that, we've got a few quotes from a few residents in this neighborhood, and it's quite touching actually when you read through these. The first quote we have is from unit number 53, and they state that I'm really grateful to the City of Merritt for helping my family settle down again with a new home. It's a beautiful house with an affordable price. Thanks. We have another quote from unit number 89. As far as the impact on me having my own place, it's awesome. I'm totally delighted to have my own home again. I thank you and the city very much. Independence is key. Pretty powerful comment there. And then the last comment is in regards to after being displaced for over a year without a proper home to live in, my family and I feel so relieved and at ease. The feeling is like a breath of fresh air after drowning underwater for so long. We can carry on with our lives again. So these are just some amazing comments, and there's more out there, but I just want to make sure that City Council realizes that this initiative has gone quite deep in the community, and it is hitting a need that was out there. And all these people are extremely grateful for what they've had an opportunity to achieve. So just want to pass it on and thank you. And then with that, maybe we'll do, before we go to the next part, Nick and I will be available for any questions, and then we'll get Sean to go through the resolutions if that works for Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just also want to point out that past council had very much to do with this.
Yes.
They built the cake, we just put the icing on it, so they had a lot to do with this, and we were more than happy to help them finish it off. So a lot of the kudos goes to the past council as well, and their vision, and the staff to get this done, and yourself, so thank you very much.
Yeah, no, for sure, you're welcome, absolutely. It took a real team effort for sure, yeah. Okay, no questions? Oh.
Councillor Newman.
I didn't know we were quite there yet. No, so I was just wondering if you could repeat those numbers for it was the Canadian Red Cross said as of May 2nd, there was how many people? 300?
52.
52 people, and then there was a follow-up right after that. I just missed the...
Okay, Canadian Red Cross said 194 households, 352 people were receiving support. 2 households, 2 people were in a commercial accommodation, so that's like hotels. Okay. And then 29 households, 57 people were in temporary accommodation.
So,
and we get updated stats every month from them.
And that is province-wide or due to the flood, or is that Merritt specifically?
Merritt specifically,
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I guess for myself, Nick, maybe, can we touch on the hydro situation? Was it the power not enough? Was it too archaic? Why did we end up with just those 6 in a problem? I'm just curious.
The problem stemmed from the distribution centers. So the way the park is set up is BC Hydro services into sheds where the meters are housed, and from those sheds are then distributed to the units BC Hydro had a problem with 3 of the sheds, which affected those 6 lots, saying that they weren't up to code. The park owner was able to push back a bit, and I think with his team was able to mitigate the impact that BC Hydro was hoping they would upgrade to. So we've settled now they're going to be upgrading the individual posts at each lot, but BC Hydro has confirmed that the sheds there are safe and don't need upgrades.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course.
Any other questions? Oh, let's see who's the winner. Councillor Charney.
For your landscaping, will it be low maintenance or zero-scaping?
That's what we're looking at right now. A few quotes we got back before going for RFP showed that traditional lawns were much more expensive to install, and as we know, they'll be more expensive and resource intensive to maintain. So we are going to be looking most likely at a zero-scape option.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
And just for clarity, of those 24 units that are currently rented, how many of those were actually flood victims? Do we have a number on that? I mean, everybody's affected, I know, one way or another, but I mean directly for homelessness purposes.
Right, so we have phase 1 and phase 2 tenants in those units.
Okay.
So of the 24, 16 are phase 1 tenants. Those are the ones that were directly impacted by the flood. Phase 2 was open to any tenants within the city that were also indirectly affected. So
Essentially
16 phase 1.
Okay, so for the total project, then we'd say about 50% then are therefore about directly affected. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then the remaining units will be phase 2 tenants.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you explain the difference between phase 1 and phase 2 for those who may not be totally aware of it?
Sure, absolutely. So Nick and I worked closely with the Canadian Red Cross, and we followed up with a number of lists that we were reviewing to see that people who had registered or were impacted by the flood themselves. From that list, we were able to get applications to those folks. And of the 150, we got it down to about 75, I think it was. And then of that pool of people, the ones that actually applied for housing that went through, we ended up with 16. So that was a phase 1 pool, and then because we had 31 units that were ordered, because we ordered them in like a number of months in advance, being anticipating the need, we made the offer available to other residents within the city of Merritt as well. So that's the difference between phase 1 was the original pool of people with the lists we had from the Red Cross and other lists with the city as well, and then we moved to phase 2 was the remaining folks for the 31 units.
Thank you. Is Councillor Ogun being monitored in case he does have a question? I'm just curious. Okay.
My question was about hydro as well.
Hydro? Okay, go ahead, next.
About hydro, and the mayor already asked the question. So the only thing that is remaining is about the timeline to get these upgrades for the 7 unoccupied units.
If I can correct you, it's upgrades for the 6 units. The 7th is still being held as an office by SMC until their contract ends and they demobilize. So yeah, the timeline now we're looking at is the park owner hopefully will have the upgrades completed by next week, inspected and confirmed the week after, at which point SMC said they will need about a week to mobilize to get out here, and then we anticipate about a week to commission the final 6 homes and demobilize completely.
It's about the existing tenants before these 31 units were in place. So how was being the experience? Because I have some people that contacted me and I said, I would like to follow up with the people if there are any complaints in writing. So have you had any complaints from people that were living there before these units were placed?
Do you mean from park residents who aren't part of the program?
Yes.
I myself have not. I'm not sure if you have, Steve.
Yeah.
Nothing
in writing.
Nothing in writing. I site a couple times. There were a few tenants who mentioned they weren't too content with the noise and the construction activity at the time. However, in terms of the overall program, we haven't received any formal complaints, no.
I received a phone call from a couple of people that weren't happy about the mud on the roads, and we got a sweeper in there fairly quick to get that done, so.
Correct, yeah, Rick Green was able to handle that.
So when the complaints that are very few do come in, it's acted on immediately, so. Because we do realize that there are people who are long-term there, so we're careful with that, so. Thank you, Councilor Ogun. Any other questions? I think that's it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again. And I'd like to pass the torch over to Sean, who will go through 2 resolutions with you. So, Sean?
Thanks, gentlemen. So, as this project progressed, we talked a lot about how it was going, how it was filling a need, how it was filling needs for people in the community, both directly flood-affected individuals and indirectly flood-affected individuals. And in a world of, I'm not sure how many of you closely follow the news, but in a world of BC housing scandals and corruption and a significant amount of turnover in the upper echelons of the corporations that are supposed to be providing housing, we were all really, pardon my informality, but just stoked to have a program that worked well, that hit budget, that got good feedback from the people in it, and that really filled the need of what we were trying to hit. You're never going to have a housing program that fits every need, from shelter residents that can't afford anything to people who make $200,000 a year and can't connect on a house because of bidding wars, right? Like, there's a whole range of people in BC that have some sort of housing problems. But I really feel with this particular program, we've absolutely hit the mark on what in BC they call the missing middle housing, and the housing that people require when they're looking at moving out of the condo space into the space of their own with a little bit of space for kids and a couple of bedrooms. This is, I believe, an extremely successful program. We would like to, I've spent a little bit of time with the province. The original idea, concept, contracts, everything was set to expire on December 31st, 2025 for a number of reasons. It is a transitional housing program, and we have actually, to back up a little bit, I guess, we have negotiated with the financing that we've received that is an evergreen financing fund. So when these trailers get sold, the price of their selling doesn't go into city general revenues. It doesn't go into provincial general revenues. It goes into a separate housing fund, housing reserve, or housing corporation, if that's how we need to structure it. And we'll continue to provide housing solutions for the city of Merritt in the coming years, in the next 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, and on. That's never happened before. It's not a model that literally any other community has. So really good news on that. When we do sell these things, we will definitely look to cycle them into the next amazing housing development in Merritt. But we are looking to extend this program because it has worked so well, and especially when we keep in mind that some of the 6 are only going to be coming in online substantially after we had originally hoped, because of some of the infrastructure requirements in the particular park, and then people are moving in with only 16 months to go and find another place. So we feel like there is a very good reason to extend it by 12 months. The province has agreed, after some discussion about the program, that they're in agreement if the community would desire that and if council would desire that. We don't, as a community, likely want to get into a situation where we are long-term landlords in this type of situation, for sure. I personally believe that there is good justification to extend the program for another 12 months. If it's 24 or 36 or 48, I would have a little more problem, but we are definitely providing a service, and I think that another 12 months in this program would be beneficial. For a bit of clarification's sake, resolving to extend the program for another 12 months gives us the ability to negotiate with our vendors. All of our contracts, again, because this program was scoped out to December 31st, 2025, and it's done meant that the contracts that we signed with the park owner, the contracts that are signed with a property management firm, everyone else expire on that date as well. So resolving to extend the program for 12 months would allow us in the ROC housing department to go negotiate with those people for an extension of 12 months. It doesn't guarantee it, because who knows, maybe there's an issue with the land, an issue with the park owner. I don't know what that looks like. We've started to feel that out and talk about it, but I can't negotiate in good faith without, of course, council resolving to extend the program. So that's what we're here to do tonight, and we would like your support to extend that and start negotiating with all the parties. Questions?
Thank you very much. Questions? Councilor Richard.
I'm in favor of extending this because it, like you say, having people get in there and have less than 2 years, the full 2 years is a bit of an issue. Also, it may take people some time to arrange their financing, set up down payments and different things. But with this program, I think it would be helping people have time to make plans and arrange to purchase the units, hopefully, because first right of refusal goes to the existing tenants in phase 1, does it not?
Thanks, Councillor, through the mayor. Yes, that is correct. You will see buyout contracts. There's a bit of an adjustment in those actual contracts, but next council meeting, you will see buyout contracts for these. The general terms are that whoever is in the property gets the first right of refusal, or first right of purchase, I guess. It wouldn't be refusal. For them, the phase 1 tenants have a slightly different cost structure than the phase 2 tenants, just to recognize the dichotomy between the two. But you will be seeing those next council meeting.
Great, thank you.
I think it's probably the fairest thing to do at this point, considering we've had a couple of little hiccups there, and it wouldn't be fair to the 6 people moving in now to be shorted. So I think it's a good eye on it and bringing it forward to us. So, Councillor Newman.
I'm much like Councillor Etchard, completely in favor of lengthening it. I'm just wondering if there's any financial reasons that it shouldn't be extended.
Thank you, Councillor, through the mayor. I wouldn't say that there's any financial reasons to extend or not to extend. Particularly, I don't think it's a financial decision, although there are financial implications. So the rent that is charged through the program, because it is, again, it's not a free housing situation, it is a fairly heavily subsidized rent situation, but the tenants are paying rent. It goes towards pad rental, snow shoveling, a bunch of different maintenance items. None of this money is going into general city coffers, so extending the program doesn't increase tax revenues or anything like that. And stopping the program just means that we find some other home to park that money to reinvest in housing. And it's more, I think, about the fact that we've found a solution that works. We found a place to invest that money that really works for our town, and that we're not thinking about what the return on investment necessarily is, but how it's working for people. We're getting really good feedback that that works really well for people, and there's not a significant financial implication of either choice at this point.
Sarah Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one point as well, in that when Sean and I have talked about this from a staff workflow perspective, so we've absolutely kept the focus on the tenants, which is where it ought to be with a program like this. But realistically, if this ends in 2024, we need to start having buyout discussions. What are your next plans in like 6 months in order to make that work? And so that's a challenge because A, they've got a whole bunch of other projects that I know you guys care a whole lot about. We're not going to talk about the bridge at this meeting, but the bridge and other things that I know that you want to see. And so I think that by putting this back 1 year, not only is that better for the tenants, it will spread out when we can have those discussions a little bit more organically with less rush for both the tenants and the staff team.
And I think we have to say bridge in front of everything now.
I have a very good update on the bridge coming as well.
Just a quick update. Okay, and we go into round 2. Here we go. Someone buys one of these trailers in 2025. They have the right to pull it off the lot and go wherever they want, correct?
That is correct. And again, you'll see the buyout contract in the next council meeting, but that is functionally correct. And we are looking at a small stipend as well to help them with the cost of moving if they remain in community. So we would really like this housing source to remain in community, even if they choose not to be in this particular park. And so we're able, through some negotiations with the province, to give them a bit of a stipend to be able to do that. So there's been a lot of moving pieces, and that has certainly been one of them.
Councillor Egan.
I just have to say that I'm in agreement that we should be extending this because these people just got in there. They've only been there 2-3 months. And they're probably just going, you know, all the stress is gone. And now you're already throwing at them buyout options and agreements and putting the stress rate back on top of them again. So I am fully in favor of extending it.
Oh, Councillor Charney. Letting us down, Councillor Charney. Any other questions for Mr. Strang. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to, again, say voting in favor still relies on us being able to renegotiate those contracts. So it's not something that we can guarantee that it will affect and pass through to the tenants, but it gives us the ability to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. We had to push that little red button before you go. Thank you. Is that? Yeah. Right, so. Recommendation that we have on the table that council extend the expiration of the temporary evacuating mobile home program from December 31st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025. Councilor Richard, Councilor Egan, any other questions that we didn't ask already? Bridge. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for the presentation, everyone. Moving on. 2022 Development Cost Charge Report to be introduced by Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. The city collects development cost charges in accordance with the City of Merritt bylaw, and that's pursuant to the Local Government Act. The funds are collected to offset the cost of increased demands on existing infrastructure as a result of new development. And according to Section 569 of the Local Government Act, it is an annual requirement for all local governments to prepare and consider a report with respect to the annual development cost charges for the previous year. And the report is required to be available to the public until June 30th of the following year. And the 2022 development cost charges report is attached for council's consideration. The report details the distribution of DCCs collected and shows interest credited to the individual funds in 2022. There was a total contribution of $300,641 in DCCs and $106,262 in interest earned in 2022, resulting in a total DCC balance of $5,664,469. And there were no DCC expenditures in 2022. A review of the DCC bylaw is scheduled to be undertaken in 2023, which will also look at the rates and eligible projects. Recommendation is to receive this report for information.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate it. Any questions on the DCCs? So the recommendation is to receive this for information. So moved by Councillor Newman, Councillor Eden. All those in favor? And it is received. 9.4. This is the recommendation that council approves the extraordinary grant and aid request for the Merritt District Chamber of Commerce for $7,500 financial aid from the council contingency funds. And that should be in front of you. What do I do with mine? Mr. Rouse.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not actually speaking to the report or anything, but just to explain to you on a procedural note, in terms of where this was presented to you as a late item, I do want to emphasize that it was properly filed by both the Chamber and by the Finance Department within the appropriate deadlines. There was an unfortunate technical malfunction. It's actually marked within our system as having been added to the agenda, and it was brought to our attention this morning that somehow it had simply not been. So we have filed a bug report on that, but I just wanted to let you know this wasn't something that they suddenly sprung on us in the last day or something. It was an unfortunate technical malfunction.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Just wondering if we could get some clarity then on, because our entire grant in aid is $50,000 per year, correct? But we've already spent 47. Is that?
The policy is 50,000, but the budget that you approved has 55,000 in it.
To date, so we're over budget on that.
No, I thought your budget for grants and aid was 55,000 for 2023.
Right.
You also have 25,000 in your council contingency fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's on top of the grant and aid.
And you've combined the two of them together, have you not?
Essentially, we've done that.
So we're talking 32,202.82.
I
This one, oh yeah. So I think that what Councilor Newman is alluding to is policy says 50,000, but budget this year was 55,000. And so since you've only spent 47,797, if you were to do this 7,500 one, it would put you right at the budget of 55,000 this year, despite the fact your policy is at 5,000. And so you guys have asked to review that policy as part of our policy review committee meeting coming up. And I'm gonna look at Linda. June 21st, to review that policy is all.
Is there, and just following up on that, is there any urgency to this request from this organization? I'm just wondering if, like, you know, if we don't approve or not approve it right now, if they can't continue on, or.
Chair Smith?
I would just acknowledge that at the direction of council, you could invite the representative from the chamber to come speak to this, seeing as Marg is here.
Well, why don't you come up and fill us in, please?
So there is some urgency to it because we've just been approved for the FUR grant from ETSI-BC for the $75,000.
Oh, nice.
So that's really great. And in order to, the ETSI-BC grant will only pay for a body. It won't pay for anything to go with all those events that we want to put on. So it's a bit of a dilemma, which we didn't realize when we put forth the application to ETSI-BC that it would be like that. And the Chamber of Commerce does not have the funds to be able to provide entertainment, you know, to pay for entertainment, to pay for the different things that go along with putting on all of these events. So it is a bit of a dilemma that we found ourselves in.
Councilor Newman, you have a second question?
No, it was just on sorry.
So, Merritt, for me, just a real quick question. We talk about these several events. Do we know what these several events are, or these are events that are coming forward that you're hoping to hit?
Well, they're the ones that we put in the proposal originally.
Okay.
So now ETSI-BC did come back to us as well and said that, you know, if we do something like a golf tournament, we shouldn't put that in our report because ETSI-BC will balk at having somebody arrange a golf tournament for us, even if it's something that the city has decided that would be good for us. So they're being quite directive about how they want the funds or the events to be structured, which was also a surprise. So what we did is we rewrote our proposal and we put 4 signature events. And we didn't say exactly what they would be, but right now we're looking at possibly doing a boutique festival in the fall, which would have the ability for us to do a beer garden and do fundraising for that. A trade show in the spring, which we have been told it can be a money maker as well. So that can bring money back in to try and help for the next year to be able to sustain events and put on events. But initially we need seed money.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. So, Margaret, I'm sorry I didn't read the information. Perhaps what I'm going to ask, it's part of the information provided, but I read my package last night. So should I understand that by if approved this granting aid for 7,500, you will have enough capital to meet that requirement that ETSI-BC is requesting?
You know, it just, rather than the city having this person doing these events and doing this through the city, the chamber is taking on that responsibility, and it's turned out to be a little bit different than what we initially expected through CBC.
Thank you. Any other questions? I myself, I'm prepared to support it as long as I would like to see a year end to see what exactly the 75 paid for, just because I'm kind of that kind of guy. So
You bet.
I would just love to see it.
You bet.
Do we have a motion has the motion been passed and seconded? No? Okay. So let me just read that again. The motion is that council approves the extraordinary grant and aid request for the Merritt District Chamber of Commerce for $7,500 financial aid from the council contingency funds. Councillor Etchart, do I have a seconder? Councillor Newman and Councillor Newman again.
It is a requirement of grants and aid that they report back on spending, is it not? Okay, I just wanted clarification on that. I thought so, so thank you.
Yeah. But sometimes that gets forgotten at the end of the year. Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Party on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's going to be a great summer for you.
Yep.
Events and things.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Notices of motion. Notices of motion, not emotion, sorry. I'm deep. No notices of motion. Reports from council. Anyone have one? Well, seeing none, I'll go ahead. Beat you guys to the punch. May 15th, we had the Minister Ralston meeting, Minister of Forest, up at the Forestry Office. I thought it was well attended. I'm glad he came. He was invited and he did come, so I'm glad he came to see us. May 16th, I had a meeting with Jackie Taggart, basically just to find out how the pulse of the community was and some of the items that were outstanding. Most of it had to do with the hospital situation. On May 17th, I was invited to a thing called the Meeting of Warriors. It was a lunch with Richard Jackson at the Canadian Friendship Center, and it was. I'm really glad I went to it. Met some very strong people and people who are willing to make changes in their life, and it was very enjoyable to be at. May 18th, we had ESS training, and we all got our shirts, which is quite cool. So I'm very glad with that. June the 10th. The tickets are out there right now for Jennifer and Everett Biddlecombe for their steak dinner. If you are looking for tickets, there's two seatings from 5 and 7. You can get them from Merritt Toys and Games, Purity Feed, and Carryware and Associates. They have tickets if you're looking. They're $25 cash. And I would, if you have any time that you would be able to attend this, it would really help them. And Jennifer and Everett are two people that were affected by the flood, and Mr. Everett has liver cancer, and we're trying to help them as much as we can. So if you do have the ability, I would appreciate that you do it. Gas Buddy, here we go. Kamloops, today, the cheapest was $165.9, the most expensive was $173.9, I won't tell you where. Kelowna, $170.9 to $174.9. Princeton was all in at $186.9. Penticton, $168.9 to $169.9, and Merritt, $166 the low and $179 the high. So we're all over the place. Vancouver still is quite high, but that's because they have a 15-cent transit tax. So, and Councillor Etchart and I are off to FCM in Toronto tomorrow, so don't do anything horrible while we're away. So thank you. Councillor Newman.
I just have a question on your report for the fundraiser that's on June 10th. Is there a way, if you're unable to attend, that you can make a donation, or?
Just buy a ticket.
And then advise them so they don't book a dinner that it's. Okay.
So what's happened in the past when we've done this with Dana, with ambassadors, is somebody wanted to buy a ticket, we took the ticket and gave it to Dana, who then had a ticket at the counter to give to somebody that came in.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
That's the way we've done it before.
Yep.
So.
Thank you.
Councillor Chaney.
Last Friday at the seniors monthly meeting, we had May Weber come in, and she taught the seniors how to use the AED machine, and that was very interesting. And then she did CPR, and then she had these little little dolly things, and you know, she was teaching CPR, so that was very interesting. I attended the Minister Ralston meeting also. It was very informative. And then we had ESS Director Krista Menard give us a Fire Smart presentation to Council. And they're very interesting facts about how fire spreads and sparks, etc. And then I also attended the ESS meeting and got my T-shirt.
And the picture taken.
And my picture taken for my badge.
And we got to draw on the whiteboard, which made Sean very jealous. We did whiteboards. Councillor Newman.
In addition to the reports that have already been out that were attended, I just wanted to include that I did attend the food bank meeting as well on the 16th. Sorry, they are going to do their meetings on the third Tuesday of every month, going forward at 6:30. And if anything changes, I will let everybody know. But they were very happy to have a representative council there as a liaison. They thanked us very much for making an effort to do that, so that's always good. And then the other thing that I wanted, just when you were speaking about the meeting with Minister Ralston, we were supposed to send a copy of our SILGA resolutions off to them, and I just wanted to confirm if we had done that yet. Thank you. So, yep, if you could do that, that's the only thing. I just want to make sure that that gets taken care of. Thank you.
Anyone else? So you guys did absolutely nothing the whole last 2 weeks.
We all did it together.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, look, Councillor Etchart.
Since he's trying to make fun of us, we were silent. I have to defend this side of the room because we were all at different.
Yes, I know.
Busy people.
I'm only kidding.
Geesh. But when you guys say so many detailed things, we don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think we're all just so happy to work together and get to attend so many events. It's nice to see us there. I know a lot of people, when they see us at different events, a few of us coming together, people seem to appreciate it, and it's nice to work with a group who we all get along and we attend things together, and it's pretty great.
Well, you better get along with me, pal. We're stuck with each other for the next 4 days.
Yeah,
we're stuck in a plane for 5 hours, side by side.
I will bring my Tylenol.
Oh, let's just cut your mic right off. Separate planes. Yeah. Whoa, wait a minute.
Please no.
Any other? Oh, and I just want to, if you guys aren't doing anything on the 27th, there's drag racing up at the airport. $10,000 purse. Here's some pretty nice cars are coming in. I want to thank Deputy Mayor, Councillor Newman, for stepping in for me at the ribbon cutting for the, I want to say Coldwater, Lower Nicola Veterans Association, so I appreciate that. So thank you. Anyone else? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Councilor Newman, again.
Well, no, just for upcoming events, because there's a few things that if people, there's,
okay.
On the 26th, we have the roller skating is coming to town at the arena, the disco, Friday night disco roller skating for families. So I think that's pretty cool. And they're going straight across BC, and it's, I think it'll be pretty well attended. So that's, and also just a friendly reminder about the Enbridge open house that's happening on the 25th. Tomorrow. That's still this week. Yes, so that's going on.
And on Sunday.
What's the Sunday's the ribbon cutting?
Oh, yes. Oh, that's right.
I can't be at two places, so that's it for me.
Why not? Oh, Councillor Richard again.
Well, there's the, Dan Albus was inviting people, I think, for tomorrow to coffee event or something. That was also on Facebook, so if people are around for that. It was in the afternoon, so I think at Kakuli in the afternoon. So if people are interested, there's that as well.
We won't be here, so.
Well, we won't be there, but maybe some of these others may. We're missing a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, no kidding. We want the worst weekend to be away as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, well. Enjoy.
Any other councillor? Thank you. And I have to echo Councillor Richards. I do appreciate this council and the camaraderie we have and the ability to joke around. It's a lot of fun. I do appreciate it. Moving on. Information items. CAO report. Mr. Smith. Any questions on the CEO report? Just want to say thank you very much, very informative. I have gone through it and highlighted a couple things, and we'll see if nobody's blinking yet. There we go.
The one thing that I will say is you'll note that there's some items that look and feel very current and some things feel like they're from March. It's because they're still from March. We're working on making sure that as we move along here, you're going to have the most current, most up-to-date information with everything. And so I'm really happy with how this is coming together. Again, I think compared to what you saw in the first iteration, the template look and feel is getting closer to where we want things to land. We're still working to condense, to have less information, to say, hey, we're just updating you on anything that's changed versus previous iterations, so that this is going to be something that is going to be your document to be able to communicate really well with the public. Hey, here's the 7 things that happened over the course of the last, month that are going to really make a difference in the community. And then here's some of the operational stats. So that's where we still want to get, but really want to thank all of the team for their submissions and in getting the information to you.
Councilor Newman.
Is there a way that and thank you very much for this report, it made my day to see it. I think it's always nice, especially from different departments that we don't come in contact with every day. It's very good to keep up on that. I'm going forward for when we do get these completed items, is there a way or a consideration that maybe we keep like a back page where it's like a list of the completed tasks that we've gotten through, so that we don't necessarily lose sight of what has been accomplished, so to speak, like kind of like a live document?
Yep.
I know it's a work in
we want to move to a little bit less of here's a project with 5 different sentences to have Excel sheets anyways. It's just going to be more condensed, but absolutely, if the request is that we keep what's been completed, what's not, that's something that we can facilitate.
Excellent. Thank you again for the report.
Councilor Egan.
Thank you. I just, as I glean this right now, because I didn't have a computer, I don't see anything about clay banks, and I don't see anything about the maintenance program for the sewage drains.
So there's a little bit on clay banks on page 16. Just saying that Claybanks RV Park entire site rebuild under the insurance claim section. New single-story rec center plans have been obtained. So on council's direction on the last go-round, you'll recall largely same site layout, except council provided direction to move to the single-story model. So we've got those new plans. We'll be cycling that back to the insurer for construction. You will also see the next bit that discusses clay banks is that council was successful on receiving funds under the DRR grant, disaster risk recovery grant stream, for $2 million in grant funding to dike around the wastewater treatment plant. We have submitted a $2 million grant as well that would allow for permanent diking along clay banks it would coincide with that clay banks rebuilding plan. So we won't know on that one until June 30th, but we're kind of hoping that all of that is going to line up time-wise so that we can make the clay banks rebuild plan as well as the dike come forward. And we haven't lost sight of your overall request to bring forward a committee of the whole meeting to discuss clay banks, its future operation, et cetera. We've got that on our list for council to provide input on in the coming months.
And the storm drains?
And the storm drains. Can you remind me what I was supposed to do about the storm drains?
Well, I was speaking with, sorry, I can't remember his name, Rick. From
Storm drains or driveways?
Yeah, he had mentioned that he asked his staff what was going on with the maintenance program for the storm drains, and they said they didn't know about it. So it hasn't been happening for some time.
So what I can say is we did do some storm drain cleaning and maintenance over the course of April. And again, there's not a ton of detail on it, but you'll see it on page 10 as one of the operational items. But I think that you were particularly referring to what's happening at the corner of Nicola.
I had a happy reminder come up today on Facebook. 2015, did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I will get some specifics because I recognize that's what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
I'll bring that back. Thank you for the reminder.
Anyone else? I find it quite interesting on page 17, under bylaw enforcement statistics, our second largest thing is shopping carts. It just goes to show some of the time taken up by our bylaw officer on items like that. Just it's a little interesting. Anyways, C.O. Smith, you have anything? You're on there. Thank you. Councillor Turner.
You mentioned shopping carts. Do you remember in the past, we used to have someone that picked the shopping carts up in his truck and returned them? We used to have somebody doing that.
But it shouldn't be up to the city to be doing this. This is up to the people who own the shopping cart.
No, but
Their name is
we're not
clearly on
having
it.
any success with them picking things up. So could we look at something else for that, or just continue the way we are?
To be 100% honest with you, putting the cost on the citizens for shopping carts is not going to happen. I think it's ridiculous. Your name is clearly on the shopping cart. Come and get it.
Okay.
I think that's what we have to do, is we have to, hold on. People have their hands up all over the place.
Yeah, I'll to Ms. Beck first, and if she doesn't.
You got to push your little button off there. Sorry. Thank you. Linda?
Thank you, Your Worship. In regards to shopping cart, we are moving forward with, if you would like, if council would like, we can certainly, there's 6 businesses in the city that have shopping carts. We can arrange a meeting with the owners of those businesses and council if you'd like, and then we can sit down, or a representative of council to sit down and have a discussion at that level.
Can we not just send them a letter and say, go pick up your carts? We're not going to store them anymore.
We can certainly start with a letter to those 6 stores, absolutely.
I think so, because their names are clearly on them. And these things can't be cheap. C.O. Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to flag that we've had conversations at the staff level. I think that's why when we had the discussion at the last council meeting saying, hey, maybe there's an approach here, if it's council in on the discussion, to say it really would help our community if you could implement some program that would either result in locking grocery carts or dedication of resources to collect shopping carts. Because I think that coming from staff, it's not that it is not being heard, it's just that I don't think it carries the same weight. And so at this point, if we do another letter, we would very much like to indicate that it is council that it is directing us to send this letter. And if you're comfortable with that, then maybe there is another touch point we can do at our level before we get to a meeting.
Because our bylaw officer has more important things to do than return shopping carts. It's just not going to happen. Councillor Newman.
Just following up on that as well, can the letter not come from the mayor himself versus having, like, as a representative of council, instead of saying that council's directing you to do this? I don't know which holds a little bit more weight, maybe.
Whatever council, I'm always of the opinion that
we could have a letter coming from council.
We work together. You guys should have your say as well. So, but I mean, I'm more than happy to pen a letter. It's not a problem. It's just I feel that unified council together is don't want you guys to ever feel like you're getting excluded, right?
No,
because it's shopping carts, which are very important. I'll get you to kill your mic there.
Oh, I still have, are you done?
I'm done, yes.
Okay, I just had a few questions on the report for myself. Just in regards to process, I guess, is more along the lines. So a few of the requests that I see here, I have no idea what that was.
Thank you for playing.
Stop. Well, like a few requests that came from, I guess it would be public works somehow, or recreation. Like, so a user group requested additional lighting at the park. So once the project is scoped, it will be proposed for funding Tennis courts was another one. There just seems to be a few things here that it seems that members of the public have approached a group or a director possibly. I'm not sure how it works. And then somebody's gone out and done some research on a project and said, oh yeah, we need lights here and let's go put a bunch of man hours into trying to determine how much lights would cost or whatever it is. I'm just wondering, do they come through council first and then go back, or I'm just wondering the process?
That is a great question, and anybody who was here on the last council, I think there was actually a few times with 2 councils ago as well. This has happened both ways, lots of different times, and both have their pitfalls. Pitfall of doing it this way is exactly that perhaps what happens is something that we do some work on something that council would have shut down at the first instance. We think that more often what happens is somebody comes and says, hey, we really want to see lighting here. And first thing council says is, staff, like, is that possible? What's this going to cost? Like, come back and talk to us once you have some details, right? And so what we found is if there's a credible ask that, all right, community group is asking for something, we do some preliminary research and bring that back to council for consideration. We're not mapping out exactly where the lights would go and everything with it, but we want to have a ballpark for you so that you can say, hey, this is what it would look like. We also generally want to have a few conversations because there's no surprise that in that particular area, lighting is contested. People on the bench, some of them don't want to see lights in that area, others do, and so it always comes back with some opinions, and I think it's circled back 3 different times since I've been here, and I think it's done even more than that over the course of our time. So we want to just kind of grab some of that old information when we bring it forward to you as well. So is there a set process for which order we do it in? Not really. If we think that you're going to turn it down, for sure, we're probably going to bring it to you first. If we think there's a reasonable chance you're going to ask us to go back for more information, rather than doubling the work of preparing a report to have you tell us to go prepare a report, we generally come with a bit of information the first time around. Does that make sense?
Councillor Richard.
I think with some of the projects that we had on there, different times they've come up. I mean, before we had COVID and before we had the floods, we were able to focus on park beautification and things for about 5 minutes. And then the world changed because in 2018, our worst flood was Nicola, and it affected like a few blocks, and it was catastrophic for us at the time, what we thought was catastrophic. And we were focused more on sports activities like tennis courts and normal things like normal communities in BC, so we just haven't really gotten to experience normal the last 3 years, so it's kind of always been something on the back shelf. I know at the beginning of the last term it was tennis courts and the pickleball court and everything, so that was discussed heavily because the lawn bowlers weren't pleased about losing that to pickleball, but at least it's being used, so just adding to your comment, but it's all good to think about. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions on the CEO report? We have 2 information items. One is a letter from the District of Coldstream, which I think has some really good questions, and I think we should keep an eye on what answers they get back. I mean, we don't have the same issues, but again, it's got some really good questions. And then, of course, our UBCM or SILGA UBCM resolutions. Any questions on either one of those? Councillor Richard.
I just thought it was interesting to see that Coldstream is having this housing piece where they're having struggles for development because they don't have the infrastructure that they have with waterworks, public waters. So with this Homes for Action for People, or in the letter that the mayor of Coldstream wrote, I think it's interesting because I think, we should give support if we can, because we may have the same problems. Well, maybe not in Merritt, but in outlying areas where we may have space to build.
Councillor Newman.
And I'm just wondering, is there a copy of that report? I did do some digging online as far as the, and sorry, just bear with me, I just dropped my notes. I'm not going to pick them up right now. But the report that they were referencing in there from earlier in the year, it is,
Actually, I do believe it is on,
It's, sorry.
the Homes for People Action Plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a copy of that or a link? I did do some looking today and I got about 5 or 6 different newspaper articles, but never actually got to the report.
I do believe it's on, if you go to the BC Legislature site and go to Ravi Cologne's, I do believe it's there. I remember when it came out and people were a little excited.
Homes for People Action Plan.
Yeah.
It's in bold. Thank you.
Way to go, Clip. Turn that mic off. Stop acting like that. Oh, Councillor Cheney.
Mentioning these two
Thank you for
resolutions.
playing.
Thank you. You're welcome. Going back to these two resolutions, the newsletter went out. I was kind of disappointed in that council was not consulted on this, as it was a council initiative for this newsletter. These are two of the items that would have been very important, I think, for this people of Merritt to have seen these two resolutions. Then they know that we are working for this community. And so I would really like to make sure that council does have input into this newsletter from next time. The original intent was not just advertising and regurgitating things, it was for information. And to me, these were very important things that should have been in the newsletter for the community.
Just so you know, this is going to UBCM, so we have plenty of time to get these in the next newsletter, which we will.
Okay.
And yeah, I think if you have some concerns on what you want to see in there, that's good old Kim.
The point stands, and we acknowledge and hear what you're saying with that. We will make sure that for the next newsletter launch, we have you provide some direction directly to council, provide direction for our congressperson as to specific items that are important to council in addition to whatever the ongoing projects are.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilwoman.
Just to follow up on what Council Charney is discussing as well with those of the property notice in the utility bills that came out, only one of mine had a notification in it, whereas I thought that I thought that was the standard, that going forward with the property tax notice, that it was going to have a newsletter and information included in that. I thought that was the previous discussions.
We'll have to check into that. Councillor Charney again.
Well, to go further on that, I signed up for the email, and I never got an email newsletter either.
I think it said it's in progress. It hasn't been released yet.
And it wasn't included in the taxes that it was online.
It said it wasn't ready yet.
Oh.
They said they had 137 people sign up for it.
But in the actual notice, you didn't get a hard copy?
No.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.